Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the January, what are we, the 24th? January 24th School Committee meeting. If you would, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And Trista, if you note, all members are present. We'll start with the approval of items by consensus. We'll start with approval of minutes from the January 10th, 2018 regular session. Do I have a motion? MJ, second? From Jen. All those in favor? That is unanimous. That is,
You have a couple abstentions.
yep. So that's 5 in favor, and any opposed? Any abstentions? And 2 abstentions. All right. And we approval of an out-of-state field trip, the Shawshene Elementary's School's annual Grade 3 trip to Odeon Park in Rye, New Hampshire. Members have any questions, comments? Yes,
I'd like to
Tom.
say, I went last year with my son Spencer, and it was a great day. It was very informative about, the different ocean and different areas around that area.
Yeah,
Very
I've
nice.
attended as well, and I agree. It's a fantastic trip.
Yeah.
All right, seeing no further discussion, do I have a motion? From Tom, second Manny. All those in favor? That is unanimous. All right, we will seek approval for warrants G415, G416, L32, L33, L34, L35, FS19. Can I have a motion? Peggy, second from Jen. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Warrants payroll 0117, 2018. Thank you, Tom. Second by Julie. All those in favor? That is 6 in favor with 1 abstention, that being Peggy Kane. Warrant CB 07. Do I have a motion? Julie, and second by Peggy. All those in favor? That is 5 in favor with 2 abstentions being myself and MJ. Warrant SPED 15, SPED 16, SPED 17. Motion by Tom, thank you. A second by Julie. All those in favor? That is 5 in favor, 2 abstentions being myself and MJ. All right, that brings us to superintendent report. Paul?
Thank you. Just a couple things. One, I just want to mention again and remind everyone, the town manager is presenting his budget on Monday night, January 29th at 7 o'clock at Town Hall. So whoever can attend, that'd be great. The other piece is I wanted to turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Gallagher. We have some, as you know, we have a coordinated program review coming up, and we have some dates on when things are happening. So just a, informative information for the school committee.
Great.
Mr. Gallagher.
We had our meeting with our liaison through the DESC, and just some important dates out, we can notify the public and what we're working on. So we'll be updating the student roster in special education February 5th, 2018. So that's going to go to our team, our visiting team. We also are providing information on parents and guardians, updated Excel spreadsheet with current emails, and parents and families that do not have current emails will be sending information on the addresses, so all parents and guardians will be able to participate in the survey through the state regarding our special education services. I'll be creating a local press release, working with the DESC regarding the program coordinator review, and that press release will be released on February 15th, really outlining the process. Interviews in observation is scheduled for March 2nd, and the scheduling of that, that's the schedule that we send back out to the DESC for who's going to be interviewed, and then the schedules for each building, and And so when the visiting team arrives in March, they'll have different people that they'll be interviewing. We're also going to send a notice, really communicate to the staff and, some students and possible parents of who they would like to interview ahead of time, to kind of keep everybody on the same page with that. Our special education student record review, as I believe I articulated at our last school committee, is going to be February 26th and 27th. So there'll be 2 team members from the state, and there'll be, there's selection of student records and looking to make sure everything, we're in compliance. And then there'll also be random record selections. And then the interviews and observation in the visiting team will be here in Wilmington, March 19th through March 22nd. And then they'll have an exit meeting on Thursday, March 22nd, and kind of give myself, Alice, Sue McDonald, Christine Murray, and Superintendent Ruggiero, kind of like an overview, quick overview, verbal overview of here are the things that we feel are going pretty well. Here are some areas of concern. And as we said, then after that, they'll compile all of our data. They'll have a written draft that will be sent to Superintendent Ruggiero that will have an opportunity to review. A little back and forth of maybe there are some things that we're doing that they didn't see. We can provide evidence. And then after that, a final report then will be issued. So, and we'll have the dates on when the final report is issued, because I know within this area, there's a lot of districts going through a program coordinated review right now. Yes?
Did they give you any anticipatory timeframe as to whence, after the exit interview, when the first draft will be submitted to the district?
I want to say probably within 30 to 45 days.
Okay.
It all depends, I think, on 2 things. One, I know they're doing, within this region, they're doing a lot of the visits now. Like I know Stoneham and some of our colleagues out there are ahead of us a little bit. And it all depends on the findings on, some districts, the report isn't as comprehensive and, or it could be more comprehensive, so. But I think once we go through the visiting, we'll have a lot more details, when they're here and kind of what that report's gonna look like and when can we expect the final report. This is just for the public, and these visits, I've always believed are good visits. They really are, because times are changing, the laws are changing, especially around bullying and harassment. So when there's a corrective action that they point out, it really, I think, brings people together and gives you a focus on what you need to do. It was very similar with the NEASH report. When they would come in at the high school and do accreditation, I think it's an important aspect, especially with compliance, with civil rights and special education and ELL. So I think, we'll see, what they find. We're doing wonderful things in this district, and as always, there's going to be some things, that we'll need to fix and to collaborate on. So, but we'll keep you posted throughout the whole process. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Sean.
All right.
All right. Paul, would you take us through the FY19 superintendent proposed budget?
Thank you, yes. What we gave you is just an update to the slides that were presented on December 13th. On December 13th, we went through the budget presentation. After that, Mr. Antonelli and I met with the town manager, assistant town manager, and town accountant. Came away with a number that the town could live with and we could live with, and I presented that at our last meeting on January 10th. slides that just kind of showed the changes from our original presentation on the 13th. What I've done here is I've just incorporated those changes in the slides that you received on December 13th. So the personnel changes sheet did not change at all. The salary changes document, we made some reductions and changes, so that's reflected in this slide. The same with the non-salary slide. The changes that we identified last meeting are incorporated in this. And then slide 4, which again shows the FY19 budget compared to FY18. Our FY19 budget is $40,326,533, or a 3.75% increase over our FY18 budget. So the last slide is capital, and we mentioned the last meeting that we were moving $50,000 from FY19 out. So this is just an updated slide as well. Our budget hearing is scheduled for February 14th. You will get a new budget book with all the budget pages updated and so forth, and so forth, so.
The budget meeting's when, please?
The budget hearing will be February 14th at our next school committee meeting, and that's when you, the school committee, will vote on the budget and so forth. So you'll have the complete book by then to replace what you received on December 13th.
All right. Questions, comments? Yes, Peggy?
I had asked a couple of months ago about, and I know you started doing it, textbooks, and kind of a survey of the community for the textbooks, and could I see, where does that stand? And because it seems like it's starting to be a good time to talk about it.
Yeah, I think for our next meeting, we can give you the results and the
Okay.
data that we've been collecting.
Good, because I saw that we have like $52,000 for textbooks for next year, so I'd like to know where that's exactly going.
Yeah, we talked, that's for places, for right now, we don't know exactly what we need for textbooks, but if some areas, we come across some areas that we could supplement our textbooks, that's what we'll do. So we had put some money in there. We had talked about that on December 13th.
One of the rooms we used over for the superintendent selection committee, they had some gorgeous health books. So I was glad to see that. Hope you get that room from the high school. Very nice. Okay, thank you.
All right. Anything further?
And again, as I said last week, I'm very pleased with this budget. We really had to make no substantive changes to what we had presented on the 13th. All the programs we talked about then are still in place. We got to where we needed to get to simply by just kind of scrubbing a little bit the budget, looking at some retirements that we were notified of after we had prepared the original budget. So no impact to any of the programs we talked about on the 13th. So I'm very happy with where we are, and I appreciate the town working with us, and the town takes the schools, really support the schools tremendously, so it's good.
All right. Thank you very much. And moving on to our annual report, 2017.
Yes, each year, the town puts an annual report together, and they ask us to update some pages related to the schools. So we just gave you a copy of this. We had sent it to the town. It's informational. Again, it's part of the town's annual report. We do this each year, and it's a collaborative effort within the schools. All the principals write up about their own schools. We have our CARES program, before and after school program. They write things that they've done over the past kind of calendar year, if you will. Food service department, especially student support services in all the schools and different departments, the curriculum team leaders as well. So it's a collaborative effort. Everyone kind of gets their hands dirty, and Tristan has to pull it all together, and with some definite font sizes and all that stuff. So she pulls it all together with everyone's. So this is something we just do annually for the town.
All right. Any questions or comments from the membership? All right. Seeing none. All right. That brings us to our personnel report.
Thank you. Mr. Stilazzi had put a personnel report together. This just shows changes to staffing that have occurred since, I believe, October was the last time we had put this together. So as we said then, as the year goes on, there's fewer and fewer changes to the staffing. But there's 6 people that either had left or and then the replacements are shown here.
Yes, Peggy?
I'll just say, I don't know everybody on here, but I was sad to see Tracy Jansen leaving, and I didn't know she was leaving, so I didn't get a chance to say goodbye, and I have no idea where she went off to, but she was a terrific person, a teacher, and I wish her really well and where she's gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where'd she go?
Lexington.
Oh, Lexington, okay. Lexington. Oh, boy. Well, they're lucky to have her. She was just a
I agree.
great teacher.
All right, is there any further? No? All right. All right, from there, we'll move on to our transportation contract.
Thank you. As we mentioned a while ago, we went out to bid for our student transportation. We received some bids, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Antonelli to kind of run through his recommendations and so forth.
Okay, the first thing I'd like to do is talk about placing a warrant article on the town meeting floor. This was part of the package, and I think that it's a big advantage to the school committee and to the town if you have flexibility to award a 3-year contract with an option to extend that contract into the 4th and the 5th year. The prices that we bid, the prices that we asked to have the contractors bid included a price for the 4th year and the 5th year. You see that in your bid summaries. And Massachusetts law allows you to do this. It's Chapter 30B, Section 12 of the Massachusetts law, which is called the procurement law. And it allows any municipality or school district to either extend a contract or to renew a contract for more than 3 years if the local appropriating body approves of that. In this case, it would be the town meeting would need to approve of an article like that. So one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up is because if we looked at last year's bids, not last year, but the last time you went out to bid for transportation, and you compared that with the prices that we received for the first 2 years of this new contract that we're going out for, if we were able to award that 5-year contract back then, we would have saved approximately $24,000 by having the option to extend it into the 4th and to the 5th year. And I would like to say, I'm reading now from a sentence or two that I saw in the procurement bulletin. And it says, by authorizing an award of a 3-year contract with an option to renew it in the 4th and 5th year, the town would be permitting the school department to determine at the end of 3 years whether it would be more advantageous to exercise the option or to undertake a new procurement. So you're not saying right now that you're definitely going to extend it into the 4th or 5th year. What would happen is that at the end of 3 years, you would look at the price that you have already quoted, and you see it on the bid summary, and then you would make a reasonable investigation as to the current market prices at that time. You'd go out and you'd talk to vendors, you'd see what their prices were, and if their prices were advantageous to the school district, then you could award that 4th year or that 5th year. If they were not advantageous, then you'd go out and you'd do another procurement and you'd go through the entire bid process, just as we have this time around. So it's really a you can't lose here, really, for the town or for the school department. I think it's a good idea. I've worked in other communities that have done that, and I took the liberty of contacting one of them so that I could show you what the language would be if you decided to approve of such an article.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, this language would be sent to the town, and town council would probably change it a little bit, but this is just an example of some language that another community may have used in the past.
Nice. But-
I read in this as if there was only one bid. Is there only one company?
One company bid, correct?
There's only one company that bid, and that's something that Paul and I were
But-
concerned about, yes.
I mean, doesn't that violate some laws right there? I mean, the fact
No.
that they're the only business in town?
No, we reached
No.
out to many companies.
So there's other companies?
Oh, yeah, we reached out to quite a
9 different companies.
Okay.
And we also advertised it in the Lowell Sun. We advertised it in the Goods and Services Bulletin, which is a state document. And we also advertised it on Combis, which is the state procurement website. So we really got the word out. And it's not unusual for a community to have only one bid. I did include in the package a newspaper article from Worcester. And basically, that article said a lot of school communities are only getting one bid. And the main reason for that is because the bigger companies are going into towns and just winning those towns, and it's very difficult to unseat them. So they've eliminated a lot of mom-and-pop type contractors, if you will.
This also allowed us to go back, and you can then negotiate with the company that bid if there's only one bidder. So Mr. Antonelli
And I
went
saw
back
that
to North Reading.
$5 per
Went back to
student
North Reading
and
Transportation,
all
had a
that,
conversation and bid and reduced the prices a little bit. So it was a benefit from that standpoint.
MJ?
I know that a lot of the bigger companies as well have taken over a lot of the smaller companies, so they've become a bit of a bigger conglomerate. But can you just clarify for me, in the 4th and 5th years, with the 4th year, do you renew for 1 year and then go for the 5th year once that year comes to an
Yes.
end, as opposed to saying, well, we'll continue for 2 years, or is that negotiable at the 4th year marker, or?
It's 1 year at a time, and it's important to note that it's totally up to the school committee to decide that. If the school committee doesn't want to renew it, you just say, I don't want to renew this, and we go out to bid again.
So I would envision the business manager, director of administration and finance, 3 years in the, around this time in the 3rd year of the contract, bringing to you some comparables that are out there, what other school systems are paying for busing services and so forth, and compared to the rates that we have bid in our document, and then we can make a decision. So if market conditions are such that other districts are paying more than what our current quote says for that 4th year, it would make sense for us to exercise the option. If market conditions went the other way and the prices out there are lower, we just don't exercise the option. And then we go out to bid like we did this year.
I also wanted to mention that the law states that the contractor that bid the 4th and the 5th year couldn't come back to you in the 4th year and say, okay, I bid $375, but that was 3 years ago. I really want to bump it up a little to $380. You can't do it. You can't increase the price that the contractor bid on the 4th or the 5th year.
Which is the advantage to us. They're locking in prices.
It's definitely an advantage to you.
And I see in the comps you provided us tonight that we are doing pretty well.
We are doing pretty well on those comps. The price that we've negotiated is $338 a bus per day for the regular transportation. And of all the communities, I averaged them out to $352. So we're at $338. That's a good price.
Manny?
Just a quick question. I'm just curious. So we reached out to 9 different companies. Did any of them get back to you at all, or?
No. And not only did we send the bids out, but I contacted the companies to see if they would be bidding, and They were just not interested in
Is it
doing a bid.
for lack of resources, or they just don't feel they can compete in the market?
It's an attractive price that Wilmington has, number one.
And they already know that going in, what,
Everybody knows that, because they'll ask that you'll send them the bid, and they'll say, what's the price right now? And you tell them what the price is, and some of the big companies from out of town will say, geez, I can't compete with that at all. So that's a big factor. The price is a big factor. And the other factor is, honestly, there are very few bidders here. And so if Jen, for example, owned a bus company in, I'm just going to pick a town, say Wellesley, and you were thinking about bidding here, then the company, if you won here, then the company here would go bid against you in Wellesley. So I think that there's a kind of, I'm not going to say it's
Cannibalistic.
an agreement or anything like that, but you don't see these companies bidding in other school districts. It's just, they just don't bid. We couldn't have done anything more to get the word out, but we've advertised in 3 places, we called them, we sent them the bid, and we didn't get any response at all.
and it's been like this the last couple of times too, right? So we go through the same exercise every
Yeah,
year.
and one thing, I mean, North Reading has been great to Wilmington. I mean, every school system has issues and so forth with their busing. It's just part of life. But when we had that tremendously cold week or so, they stepped up, they had called me, they had, people starting the buses at 4 o'clock in the morning, they had 10 buses on standby in case there were problems. They have the bus yard down here in Wilmington, so, during the course of a day, a bus may break down and they'll end up being late, but they'll get a replacement bus. Just the other day, a bus lost its windshield wiper, so they'll bring it back and get it, things like that. So they've been really good to Wilmington. And back a few years, when we had to call them during the middle of the day to help us get some students transported from the high school, they were there and they drew from the Lowell office or whatever. They've been really good to us, and they're good to work with as well.
Yes, Julie.
I have a question on the, both the original bid proposed and the negotiating. I noticed that there's a column for late buses at the middle school,
Yes.
and I know that this has been something that's been requested from middle school parents a number of times over the years, so I'm just happy to see that that is a possibility.
That's been in each year. We, for a few years, we had gone out and done surveys because we just couldn't afford to continue to offer that, and we'd asked if parents would be willing to pay.
Yep.
And the answer was essentially
No.
no, or $0 to
Right.
$10.
Right,
It
I
doesn't
remember
work
that.
that way, and, if you remember, you probably don't remember, but when I first got here, we had 18 buses. And in an attempt to kind of, it's a big line item in our budget, reduce, we went down to 16, and that was an interesting process. It wasn't easy, but we got down to 16 buses, and because it's so expensive, so, the late buses cost.
Absolutely.
And we had done surveys a few times, and we didn't get anything. But we continue to bid it, and there's some other things we bid just to have it on there.
Yep,
Just in case,
in case.
just so
the
that
need
we
arises.
have a price from them if we need to do that, even some in-town transportation, which we don't really, like athletic, we don't really do
Right.
that. But it's in
Right,
there, so
but
it's
in
just,
there
yeah,
if the need arises.
yeah, we have it in there.
Yeah, it's great.
This is still with no busing fees whatsoever.
No fees.
Out of curiosity, how many communities on average are charging bus fees?
I would say, and I don't know for sure, and Frank could maybe correct me, but I would guess there's very, very, very few suburban districts that don't charge bus or athletic or any fees like we do. Urban schools, different story, they don't really charge fees per se, but most, I think, suburban districts charge fees for busing, athletics, you name it. Wilmington, again, has never charged a fee for anything, which is just tremendous.
It is. Yeah, it's
Greg,
great.
I saw your hand. I'm sorry, Frank, did I interrupt you?
No, I just concur with what Paul just said. It's very unusual for a community not to charge fees, and when you talk to people who live in communities that do have heavy fees, they're just astounded that there are no fees in the town of Wilmington. It's just unbelievable.
Right now, on the school committee blog, there's this whole discussion, and a lot of it's coming from new school committee members who've written in and wanted to know what is going on and how does this work, and everything you said tonight. And their impression of why it's this way, that they only get one company responding, et cetera. This is really fascinating. So I thought that's what you were going to say, MJ, because you always are on the blog, too.
I wanted to paste, well, the other thing is that I've been reading that line, the line with regards to that as well, and it kind of concurs with what Frank added into the packet piece, that it is, but the thing is I didn't know, I think at this past convention, that kind of came up in certain areas. Again, the regional districts are the ones who are struggling the most with transportation and amongst the schools and amongst the communities and such like that. But you're right, I was going to
Yeah,
point
so
that out.
if you want, it has a lot of information on there, too.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I
it's
guess
there.
from that point, it's for a smaller company to invest in getting the buses available for our community would be very prohibitive. I would think that to go out and have to buy 18 buses to, since you don't have the, unless you have the money and,
Thinking
standby.
about a new business, Tom?
Maybe. I'll get my Huffy going.
I just want to commend and thank both Paul and especially Frank for going back to the drawing board to negotiate a price, because as we know, that the cost of transportation is only always on the increase substantially, and to take that effort to open that door, that avenue, and in right, we're looking at not just over $14,000 in possible savings over this next contract bid, and that in itself is a huge piece that we can certainly utilize in other areas of our budget and within our schools, and hopefully we'll go back into the, classrooms and to our students, ultimate.
In our FY19 budget incorporates now this contract as if we're going, we had a placeholder in there, and I think we had to increase it by $2,000. So we were right on, and we've done that. So the slides that you see at the 3.75% increase includes, assuming you approve this, these rates.
Quick question about this proposed warrant article. Would this give us the authorization to exercise those options in perpetuity, or would we have to present this article each time we're going to bid?
The way I've seen it done in the past is that it goes on forever. So that language came from the town of Billerica, and that was passed in the year 2005. And so they can just go ahead and rebid it rather than going to the town every time they want to do a 5-year contract. And another advantage to that is that the town, on the town side, they may have an opportunity at some point to say, geez, I'd like to go out for a 5-year bid on something, and this would be approved by the town meeting, so they could use this language for their purposes as well.
I mean, we obviously, if you approve it, we would send this language to the town manager as an example. He would then work with town council, so the warrant article wording, I don't know what it'll end up looking like, but it'll be something similar to this, but the town would work on that.
MJ?
Just a point of clarification, are we voting on awarding this piece and the warrant piece, or do we vote on the warrant and then, if approved, vote on the bid itself?
Actually, we want to vote on both.
Two votes.
One to do, to ask the town manager to put, Board of Selectmen to put a warrant article on, and then, in addition, award the contract to North Reading Transportation, either 3 years as currently constituted, or 3 years with 2 option years if town meeting approves that.
Okay.
So with the contingency that town meeting approves?
Right.
Yep.
Have to be, yeah.
Okay.
Am I correct, Frank?
Yes, I have some proposed language if you'd like me to do it one motion at a time so that you can Okay, so my first recommendation is that the school committee votes to place a warrant article on the annual town meeting agenda that will request town meeting approval to permit the school department to award a school transportation services contract for 3 years with an option to renew the contract in the 4th and 5th years. That would be my first recommendation, and I'd be happy to read the second one if you would like at this point, or we can stay with that.
I think would probably make sense to start with that.
Okay.
That language you just read, that's awful specific to this particular contract. Does it make sense to make it a little more general? So if there are other 5-year contracts that,
Yes, you could delete the words, a student transportation services contract, and then you would have the school department to award a contract for 3 years. So we'll just take out transportation and just leave it general, as it is in the language that I passed out a little bit earlier.
any discussion on this? Yes, Julie?
I would just be of the opinion to leave it as is, because we don't know what the future might like and what other sort of contracts we might have, and we might want to discuss those again in the future. So that would give us the opportunity to do so. So my recommendation would be to leave it as suggested.
All right, would you like to offer that as a motion?
I will. So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Peggy, all those in favor? All right, so the next step in that process is we submit that to town manager and board of selectmen for their submission to the town meeting?
We had, in anticipation of this, we had we spoke with Jeff about if we wanted to go this way. We had said that school committee will hopefully approve. If they do, Frank was going to look at some language in other districts, and we would get that to him as well. So we'll send that to him tomorrow.
Beautiful. All right. All right, that matter being settled, do I have, Frank, do you want to move on to your second
Yes, the
proposed?
second recommendation is that the school committee awards NRT Bus, Inc. a 3-year contract, and if town meeting approves of a contract extension article, you would include an option to renew the contract in the 4th and 5th years for the prices that are stated in the bid submittal, as well as NRT's letter dated January 12, 2018.
All right, and whoever wants to make this motion, I'm going to ask you to reiterate that verbatim. MJ?
There you go.
Where do I start?
Right there.
Where do we
Right here?
start?
I make a motion that the school committee awards NRT Bus Incorporated a 3-year contract, and if town meeting approves of a contract extension article, then include an option to renew the contract in the 4th and 5th years for the prices that are stated in the bid submittal, as well as NRT's letter dated January 12, 2018.
Very impressive, MJ. Do I have a second? Manny? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you very much, Frank and Paul. All right, and Paul, do you want to move us on to our next agenda item?
Sure. We have 2 contracts that will be opening up at the end of the school year. Both groups have asked to start negotiations. That'd be administrative assistants and the nurses. At the last meeting, we asked for school committee volunteers to be on those committees. Ms. Burns will be on the nurses, and Mr. Mullis will be on the administrative assistant subcommittee. We were looking for another school committee member for each of those. I did reach out to both groups, told them that we had 1 member, we were looking for a second, and I asked them for some dates. I have not received any dates yet, but, so I'm just looking for another member for either or both of those.
Julie?
And I understand we don't have the dates yet, but do we have the timeframes in the day?
Yeah, they're typically 3 to 5 in that area.
I'm seeing no volunteers. All right. Looks like I'll be on these 2.
Can I just say one thing? Regarding the committee I'm on, if there could be a backup in case I'm traveling.
Yeah, we've had that in the past where a school committee member just couldn't make a
Okay.
particular meeting, and we've just gone with, you know, with one, and then we just fill the person in on that, so.
I'm happy to serve on one of them.
Okay.
It's fine.
Do you have a preference?
Do you have a preference?
I don't.
I'm good either way.
Paul?
Can we
flip a coin.
actually, because I'll be doing some traveling too, could we sort of wait and see what the dates are and then make a decision based on our schedules, or no?
Yeah, because what I've asked them for is some dates after tomorrow. I have not received them, so when I get them, I can send them out to school committee. People can, you know, let me know. The first step, usually, they have a bunch of dates, which date works.
Or I can
And
be
that we
in-
start.
I can be your backup. I mean, if that's what it works, if that works better.
Steve?
Peggy?
I don't know what I'm doing here. Is administrative assistant still open? Or
think
did
so.
you just take care of that? Which one were you just talking about? I couldn't hear you.
Peggy, my impression is that anyone you want to jump on, I think is probably open.
I tried the administrative assistants.
Okay.
I'll
It
give
said,
you-
did I speak out of turn?
No?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I'll get dates. Both of them.
All right. It'll be nice to go a negotiating season where I'm not on at least one of those.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. All right. Our next order of business is a superintendent search. I am thrilled to say that our selection committee has done amazing work, and I'll actually turn this over to Jen to give us a little bit of an update as the chairperson of the selection committee.
So here's the update. We have completed the preliminary screening process, right on schedule. NESDEC is now processing the candidates, and then a slate of candidates will be brought to the school committee at the beginning of next week. We will need to schedule a public meeting in order to announce the finalists in the search. And it would be great if we could do it early next week, if possible.
That being said, I was hoping to schedule a meeting for Monday. How's everybody's availability for
Now,
Monday?
Monday's
Oh, we have
also
The budget.
the budget.
Of course, yeah, Tuesday.
At 7. But I was wondering, if people are doing that, was there a way to maybe do something
At 6?
just before that?
This is simply announcement, right? Wasn't Art going to give us some kind of presentation, did you say?
Yeah, because he'll have to talk to us about next steps, so he will be there to talk to us about,
So
The process.
how much time would you anticipate?
I'm guessing, an hour.
All right.
I'm just thinking you might want to do it Tuesday, just because I think if you guys,
If it tends to go long.
you don't know if you're going to have a bunch of questions and it goes long. That's my, if you were planning on going to the town manager's.
Well,
budget decision.
Manny's traveling next week too, so with 2 members not available, the Tuesday would be,
Okay, how about Wednesday?
you want to,
I'm gone all week. I'm leaving Monday, I don't get back till Friday morning.
Not until later in the night,
Later being,
like 7,
But Monday,
7:30 on Wednesday,
but Monday at 6 you'd be free?
possibly-ish.
Well, but Monday is a town budget
There is
meeting.
At 7.
7.
7.
Will we be meeting here or at town
6:30
hall?
with the CPAC. They have it all scheduled. I was going to make an announcement about it.
okay.
Yeah, it's Monday.
All right, I think we have to go out to as far as Wednesday then. So I certainly don't want to have as close to a full membership as possible. But we can't wait as much as we'd like to, Manny. I don't think.
No,
we
no,
can. Yeah,
I'm fine with it.
all right. Everybody else good for Wednesday?
That's the 31st?
It is.
You said late-ish.
What time will that be?
7:30? Julie? Let's go 7:30. Let's go 7:30.
Here?
Want to do Monday at 5:30? Well,
Yeah.
who's,
I like
I'm not going to
9:30.
be,
Ed-
no, actually, Monday I could do 5:30 if anybody doesn't have a conflict.
anybody else good for 5:30 on Monday?
I can't do 5:30.
Oh, 5:30 on Monday. Oh, I'm not
No, I think we're back to Wednesday. We got two additional
5:30
people
on
can't do it.
Wednesday.
All right. Seems like Wednesday is when the vast majority of us can do it.
And how much
should
time do
probably-
we anticipate this taking?
That hour.
You said 7:30 on Wednesday, the 31st,
I hate 7:30. Why is it 7:30?
to give Julie some
Julie a
time.
Give Julie
She
time
could
to
do
get here.
Wednesday, but later. She can't do early.
Oh,
Yep, okay.
she's my
Yep,
ride, I'll
good
go
too.
along with whatever. Whatever Julie wants, Julie has.
Does that work? So I'll contact, I don't have my phone with me, but I will text, I'll email Art right away and let him know.
Beautiful.
Okay, and then I just wanted to say a thank you, a quick thank you. On behalf of the school committee and the town of Wilmington, we'd like to thank the members of the screening committee for the many hours they devoted to reviewing applications, interviewing candidates, and deliberating during the preliminary selection process. Conversations were excellent and lively, insightful and courteous. It was a pleasure to work with this group of dedicated people. They were pretty amazing, so I think we should be really proud and grateful for all of their time. I was going to name them all, but
Can I just ask you this
Sure.
before? Because how many evenings did you guys spend and how many hours total would you say? I mean, because it really was a tremendous amount of work.
Mr. Gallagher, do you remember? Five or six evenings total.
Going up.
For probably at least 4 hours a night.
For 16 people to all be able to, pretty much all be able to,
17,
yeah.
yep, 17 people.
17, yeah.
Dr. Betancourt said that's very unusual on a group that size. He was really, they were really interested that we worked so well together, and it went so well. It was one of the best things that I have done since being on the school committee. The people, you can't even imagine it, like re-inspired you for education. We heard all kinds of things that people are doing, and the people from Wilmington were so positive and so, they knew what they were looking for, but they were open to other things. They were wonderful.
Yeah.
That's so great to hear.
Can I ask you just a general question? Did you form your questions, or did you have like a sheet to kind of choose as to, and then maybe twist them to what your interest was? How was that?
We created all of our own questions. We had a guide, so NESDEC provides a guide. And then at our first meeting, people took different topics they were interested in, and they formulated it, brought it back. We agreed as a group that that would be one of the questions. And then we had a lot of questions, so we had to pick and shoot, pick the ones we wanted to ask within the hour-long interview, because we didn't have enough time for all of them.
Very important, we utilize the candidate profile. So what the community really wanted, that's where a lot of those questions were generated, so,
At the very top of the questions we had,
exactly.
the three things we knew change leadership, what we were looking for based on the input from the community, and everyone really did go back and stick to that as they formulated their questions. So it was a good process. And I know Peggy was keeping track of some of the questions that we wanted to then bring to the school committee to consider as possible interview
Things
questions.
that came up that were, school committee level, so I wrote them down, so I'll give us, that night I can give a little list of that. Not that we have to use them, but that they were out there in the discussion.
So I'm not going to name them all right now, only because it's not, the candidates aren't, the slate's not public, and I don't want to put anyone in an uncomfortable position, but I would like to say a really huge, gigantic thank you to Ken Storlazzi for organizing the materials, overseeing the entire process, and then, of course, Tristan Dixie for all of her administrative work behind the scenes. So thank you, thank you, thank you. NESDEC has been amazing, highly committed to us, a great resource, and we look forward to continuing our work with them. So we're on schedule.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. And move on to correspondence.
None this evening.
No correspondence. Future meeting dates are February 14th. It'll be a very romantic evening, which will include a budget hearing at 7:30. And then following that, February 28th. All right. With that, we've concluded our public business.
Can we talk about subcommittees, reports?
Yeah, I skipped right over that, didn't I? I did. Please, start us up. You know what, I'm sorry, can I just interrupt you 1 second?
do.
I skipped over public comment. I don't even see subcommittee reports on here, but I did, public comment. Anybody from the public wishing to offer comment? All right, MJ?
I just wanted to make a correction with regards to the WEF Educator Exploration Grant. The grant application is actually up on the WEF's website, excuse me, as of now, and so that grant application is due by February 16th. So any teachers who are interested in submitting an application, please have it in by February 16th. And I just wanted to update that correction. That was my error. I misunderstood.
All right. Yes, Peggy?
I just make an announcement for the CPAC that on Monday evening, January 29th, in the high school large media room from 6:30 to 8 o'clock, they're going to have intro to the transition planning process. And this is really an important one with if people who have children between 14 and 22 years old, and what do we do next? Where do we go next? And a lot of places do not address that for the parents. This is really a unique thing they're giving for the parents. So it'll be on Monday at 6:30. I'm hoping it'll be a lot of people will be there. Okay, thank you.
Anything further? Any other subcommittee reports? All right, I would seek a final motion for adjournment, and this would be with the intent to enter into executive session. MJ?
So moved?
Would you read it as noted on the agenda?
Sorry, forgive me. Should know better by now. The Wilmington School Committee will enter into executive session pursuant to MGLC 30A, Section 21A3, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. The school committee will not return to public session following the executive session.
All right, I have a motion. Do I hear a second? From Tom. All those in favor with a roll call. Jen?
Jen Bryson, yes.
Julie?
Julie Broussard, yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Peggy?
Margaret Kane, yes?
Manny?
Yes.
MJ?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Thank you, everyone.